draft of any team in the league. Obviously, that one's we got to wait to see, but it's starting to become a talking point among fans of the 49ers for sure that the 49ers may have an issue drafting good players.
Well, I have to say this to that, and that's why I'm gonna hit the brake pedal. Because since 2019, this thing has been a beast. And when I say this thing, just the San Francisco 49ers, but they've gotten to 2 Super Bowl, 4 NFC championship games, and forget the woulda, coulda, shouldas. But, Steiny, they've had some hits. But the bottom line is, I don't even know if you're aware, last year the Niners had 20 sacks. That was last in the NFL. So, to me, that's a position that is dire. There's need there, and I would have loaded up. But again, to go offense 2 of the first 3 picks to me is shocking. But how can we sit here and say, without watching any of these guys hit the field, that the Niners haven't been as successful a top 3 team in regard to wins and how far you go in the season? So I guess I'm saying, is it fair to give them the benefit of the doubt, the FO, the front office, to see if these guys pop? Because I do get the questions and the anger, because that's what it's turning into from the fans.
You can wait to see how they play, and maybe both players will contribute, but there's no escaping the fact that what the Niners have done this weekend was surprising to some people, not just their fans. But I heard Baldy this morning. We're going to have Matt Barrows. We're going to have Matt Barrows join us at 11 o'clock today. He covers the Niners for The Athletic. I got the sense that the guys who cover the team day in and day out were a little bit miffed, and certainly some of the national media. It's not a deal breaker, but it has opened the door for criticism. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Now, you mentioned height. Their edge rusher they got from Texas Tech at 70. Steiny, I just said to me, and again, I'm no coach, I think it's dire that you add as much ferocious linemen that you can get your hands on. Couldn't you have got Stribling later on in the draft? Why did they feel the urgency to use the 33rd pick to get a guy that I thought would be there damn near the next round? Probably.
I mean, they reached on Pearsall a couple of years ago. So, there's that old theory about if there's somebody out there you like and you like him enough, then go take him and don't worry about the situation. The problem is when you reach for somebody and they don't blow up positively, then we can second guess. And, you brought this up a million times about Pearsall. We knew he had a little bit of an injury history when he left Arizona State, and maybe that's why it looked like a reach when they drafted Pearsall, because nobody thought he was a first-round selection at that time. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff's in Marin. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. So let me start. I think it's evident the Rams and the Seahawks are much better at recognizing and drafting talent. I was among the fans shocked that they got Stribling. They could have gotten Cassius Howell. They could have gotten Gabe Cass from Illinois. 2 guys bigger, younger than Height. Height is a 6-year super senior. He's 25 years old, and he's 239. Howell had 3 sacks in one game and 11 and a half last year. He's a speed rusher who's got moves. They pick up this guard tackle from Washington, who's, again, I think a super senior, who had a torn MCL last year. They could have gotten Pregnon, the guard from Oregon. And they could have picked up Brazil, who's a 6'4", 4'3" wide receiver from Tennessee later in the draft. A part of me is thinking they're starting to look at measurables too much, which I think maybe the draft people do a little bit too much. Isn't it more important how the kid played in college than his measurables? Doesn't the history of the NFL demonstrate that? Look, if they went strictly by measurables, they wouldn't have picked up Purdy. So
right.
I just don't know what they're doing. I don't have a lot of confidence in Lynch at all. Again, the Solomon Thomas draft where they could have picked up Patrick Mahomes, again, I think it's really suspect. They could have picked up not only Pregnon, this kid Bowery from D.C. as a tackle project later in the rounds. It's like, what the heck are you doing? Maybe, like you said, we don't know, and you're saying, Joe, and I agree, maybe these guys are going to be better than it looks on paper, but it looks really freaking suspect.
Appreciate the call. Yeah, you're talking about Jude Bowery, Boston College, offensive tackle. I had him slated about the 5th round, midway through the 5th.
Yeah.
But they obviously went in another direction there, too.
And if you're Trent Williams, Donnie, I guess you're feeling good that in regard to job security, because I don't feel like they loaded up on the, O-line or somebody to push him. So, again, we got to keep in mind, too, Stoney, this team has won. It just won in a year that you got a couple contributions from some rookies, Upton Stout, Nick Martin, your second pick in last year's draft, did nothing, didn't see the field. Alfred Collins gave you 16 games, but he didn't pop, in regard to the stat sheet, but he gave you 16 games. But I'm just looking at Marquis Siegel. He was a 5th-round pick. He had, 52 tackles. Stoney, I guess I can't throw eggs. I understand the venom, but this is not a team that hasn't made the playoffs or won in years. So I guess that's why I got the red stop sign that you see the men and women hold in front of the schools. So I want to stop because they won a playoff game. Now, do I look here at these picks and see guys or forecast them to help them right away? I don't. And then there's going to be hell to pay on that. But right now, can we truly ignore that when you say San Francisco 49ers, you damn near say playoff team, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that I think 49er fans look at it and say, if we would have drafted better, we would have had a better last 5 years. And they're not wrong. And, it's one thing if you see a player and you like him and you say, let's go get him. That's one thing. But it's another thing when you like a player and you're looking on the board and you know that there's a consensus that he might be the 10th or 12th best receiver in the draft, then you are hurting yourself. If you draft a guy at 33 that you could have had at 90. There's just no other way to look at it. Even if Stripling does well, the reality is he probably wouldn't have gone to the 3rd round. Yeah. So that's not a mistake, but that's a missed opportunity to find 2 players. If you really thought Stripling was going to be a heck of a player, and you were going to pick him, let's say, with your 90th pick, let's say something like that.
It's kind of interesting, and we always talk about it, but I'm going to bring up the word, and you tell me what you think here, ego. Because with Brock Purdy, had we done this thing with your big board, Brock Purdy wouldn't have been on any of my big boards or Mel Kiper's. Nobody saw him. And look what he's turned into. He took the team to the Super Bowl. And I'm starting to wonder, especially with Grant Cohn posing that question to John Lynch about reaching. John, was he defensive? Yeah, but he kind of said it's about our board. To hell with everybody. This is how I took it. To hell with everybody else's board. It's about our board. And I'm wondering if there's some arrogance or ego involved. Hey, Steiny, to hell with your board. Our board says Stripling in our system can pop. And I don't care what the naysayers think. That's why we drafted him.
Well, I see. Now, maybe it's different. But I can just tell you in basketball, if you got a front office, let's say five Warrior people, let's say Dunleavy, Lacob, the other Lacob, Larry Harris, they kind of all have their own board. So you don't just have one board in the 49ers room. You have all your scouts boards, and then you come to your own board. But the reality is if you don't ask around, you have no idea if your board looks similar to anybody else's board. And that's kind of, we'll get into, the sound on the other side about whether they're reaching or not, or whether they are taking too many chances, trying to overthink it a little bit. But there's no doubt about it. It was an interesting draft for the San Francisco 49ers.